Greetings, friends. Thank you for returning to Panda Story. Today, we continue our journey filled with challenges and drama. The hallway of the 11th floor blazed with light from swords and blades. The speed of the strikes surpassing all limits. Though the final threshold had not yet been reached, no one intended to abandon Bok Vu, who remained the prime target. Amidst the chaos of battle, the sound of the stone doorknob echoed sharply. The door swung open, and Bok Vu emerged from the shadows, calmly wielding a solid black bullhorn staff, authority emanating from each step he took. In the face of him, all understood that the true confrontation had only just begun. All resentment dissipated in an instant. Wei Go knew, the one with the sharpest tongue, had to restrain her ultimate skill, irritably questioning Bok Vu as to why he had not yet perished. Through Thuong Tiu Nyat, she saw the undying fervor reflected on his face. He had also surmised what had transpired in the hallway prior. Goku gazed at Bok Vu with a questioning look. If the master of the resentment had been vanquished, why had the fierce malice from before vanished so abruptly? Yet, Bok Vu offered no explanation, neither about the internal situation nor the reasoning behind his chosen strategy. He merely stated that it was a temporary suppression of the source. But they would undoubtedly meet again. As he spoke, he walked ahead of the group, heading toward the elevator door. The team members appeared perplexed, especially Lam Go New. She tossed her long hair, coldly snorting in disdain. Inside, there was a feeling as if one had never acted so flamboyantly before. Observing the discomfort of her comrades, Mok Ti and Vong Ti, only Thuong Tiu Nyat wore a cheerful expression, his smile refusing to fade, and Song paid little attention to the others, slowly regulating his breath. Strive to keep your clock upright. Yet, at this moment, Goku was lost in thought. He noticed that the value on Bok Vu's clock remained at 0. This stirred a hint of concern within him. Everyone here could grow stronger through automatic leveling up. The only task at hand was to exit the house. But stepping outside meant confronting a myriad of oddities, the madmen who had perished 700 years ago. The unseen wicked hands, and a misstep in choice would mean death. Fortunately, Bok Vu, in his previous life, had been a police officer. His mind sharp as a blade. He chose the one strategy that bore no annotations. In that moment, the wicked hands outside vanished as well. Yet, the death exploration game must continue. The group of Bok Vu entered the elevator once more. The elevator ascended slowly. Before anyone could pose a question, Bok Vu directed his inquiry toward team leader Goku. Is wickedness born from humanity? If we remain outside the tower, will we also become wicked? Goku pondered for 2 seconds before calmly responding. Do you see the clock on your wrist? The lower limit is 75. The upper limit is 300. The color of the clock before 75 is blue. Once the value reaches 75, the color of the clock turns to orange. In this range, the entire area is suffused with a malevolent aroma. Upon reaching 175, the clock's color shifts to red. At that moment, the elevator doors abruptly swing open, arriving at the 19th floor, yet offering no further words. However, Bok Vu already grasped the answer. The red value lies between 175 and 300. Perhaps this marks the inception of humanity's cruelty. In brief, when one is engulfed in extreme rage, they can be deemed as wicked beings. Outside the elevator door, there looms a suffocating darkness. 59 stepped forward, illuminating the path with a flashlight. The 19th floor bore a slightly different structure compared to the preceding levels. The first sight that met his eyes was the transformed dining hall. At this moment, Thuong Tiu Nyat whispered, "There are 6 demons outside, surely of a rank far superior to the madman that Goku has slain." Having said that, he wore a mocking expression. Alas, Goku had already discerned his true nature. Observing him nod, he raised a hand to halt him, then drew his knife, pushing open the door behind the dining utensils. Inside lurked a malicious beast. Instantly, the vile creature turned its gaze upon the intruder. Its form was bizarre, a grotesque array of shapes. Yet, without a moment's hesitation, Goku strode forward alone. Outside, Bok Vu began conversing with Captain Vong the fan. Is he always like this? Vong exhibited no sign of surprise. He conveyed that although Goku was the vanguard of the team, the captain remained the first to charge ahead. Nevertheless, there was no need for concern until now. He had encountered foes the captain could not handle. Yet he always managed to retreat safely. Bok Vu marveled at Priel's eyes, his thoughts wandering to the essence of life force. He promptly inquired of Vong, does each individual possess a unique path to develop their life force? Vong replied that they are all similar. Yet each level up grants additional abilities. These can be utilized to augment one's personal strengths. He was unsure how to articulate this process. But when Bok Vu ascended from level 1 to level 2, he would comprehend. At that moment, Priel's words resonated within Bok Vu. Isn't it akin to skill points in a game? 59 was undoubtedly a specialist. He had entirely focused on speed. Reaching its zenith, Vong should emphasize attack and vitality, which perfectly aligned with his muscular image. Lam Go Nu balanced her attack and speed. She could be regarded as a team warrior. Yet to 59's eyes, she appeared ineffectual. Thuong Tiu Nyat flourished in perception and attack. He repeatedly made accurate judgments regarding the level of evil, discerning both strengths and weaknesses. Strangely, the attributes of Insong eluded even Priel's gaze. He could only ascertain that the individual was the weakest in the team, devoid of any survival attributes. Bok Vu had come to a clear understanding. Apart from Vong, the entire team was a pack of rabid hounds, eager to attack without a care for their own lives. It was utterly unstable. How could they venture into the instance without any healers? At that moment, the voice of Goku echoed from afar, urging everyone to follow swiftly. The vile monsters lay scattered across the ground. Bok Vu noticed a high-ranking thug nearby and focused on the bodies of those wicked beings. The third-grade evildoers, capable of severing ordinary metal with their scythe-like hands, were, in truth, the guards of Hospital No. 9. This marked the demise of Hospital No. 9. After the director was devoured, the guards only heeded the orders of Tiu Ko. Bok Vu quickly realized that these 6 were the sentinels of the second building. At that moment, another thought struck him, prompting him to call 59. Who was preparing to return to the second building. He then said, if the vile beings in the first building are no match for Goku, as long as everyone can control their emotions, the evildoers in the second building will not sense our presence. The longer we survive outside the tower, the quicker our life force will flourish. So why not choose to remain in the first building to level up? Lam Go Nu immediately scoffed. Newbies are just newbies, not even aware of this. The world beyond the tower is a place that rejects humanity. After just 4 hours, the body will be subjected to various obstructions. Bok Vu had no taste for speed games. To him, it was devoid of purpose beyond mere boasting. Yet, Lam Go Nu's assertions did not end there. 59, though not lingering too long, explained that effects such as slowed speed, diminished sensations, heightened emotional fluctuations, illusions that reduced attack power, and fears of light and darkness, among others, would set in. Furthermore, each time they exited the tower, the order of the obstacles encountered was random. Bok Vu grasped the situation. Every 4 hours, debuffs would manifest, making it impossible to train levels automatically. He also understood why 59 was so formidable. 59 had previously survived for 24 days in the green zone. He pondered, with over 100 simple conditions affecting him, he could still withstand the wicked. As they conversed, everyone stepped into the second building of the hospital. In the darkness, all, including Thuong Tiu Nyat, remained oblivious. The great boss of this expedition loomed directly above them. This psychiatric hospital never accepted patients, yet its consumption of drugs was unparalleled in the city. After all, who would believe the words of the insane? As Bok Vu and the others arrived at the second building of the hospital, they found that their flashlights could not pierce the darkness. 59 swiftly produced a Medusa lamp, imbued with petrifying and slowing effects. Anything illuminated by its light would be ensnared in lethargy. This act also prevented the wicked behind them from striking immediately. It was as if he possessed the intellect of a human. At that moment, Insong spoke up with a suggestion. If the icy corridor is at the top, why don't we head directly to the building behind? But Bai Wu immediately refuted this proposal, informing everyone that the key to the third building lay right here. For his Prel eyes had activated a notification upon entering the second building, warning him against attempting to avoid this structure. They could only descend to the lowest floor of the second building to retrieve the key, thus allowing passage through the corridor to the third building. If something mischievous were to swallow them whole, they could potentially bypass it with the strength of 59. But it was best to utilize the newly acquired strategy. It would activate a more abundant reward. Wong seemed confused. This was not simply a matter of deductive reasoning. 59 answered the question on behalf of Bai Wu, pressing against the door of the third building, stating that this door had an indestructible rule. At this point, Bai Wu, who was expanding his knowledge, did not comprehend. 59 glanced at him and said, typically, normal landscapes can be destroyed, but if it's a significant location, then no matter how high the life force may be, it cannot be shattered by brute strength. Therefore, he believed that the key to the third building, as mentioned by Bai Wu, truly existed, Bai Wu refrained from revealing his pearl eyes, choosing not to elaborate further. The teammates also did not wish to delve deeper into the matter. The group arrived at the entrance of the next floor, but Shang Xiaoyi discovered the elevator of the second building was out of service. Bai Wu approached to take a look. It was not the 19th floor but rather the ground floor. This building was quite proud, originally lacking an elevator, yet it pretended as if one existed. Below you lies the first underground floor. This reflected the hellish layout of the 18th floor, and the target you need to find is deep within this hell. Progressing through each floor like this meant that exploration time would be prolonged. When they reached the next floor, they also discovered a problem. Furthermore, there were no stairs leading down to the lower floor. Clearly, the staircase layout of this building formed a Z-shape. They could only wind around like a ravenous snake to make their way through. Yet, upon reaching this point, no further words were exchanged. Under the guidance of 59, they began descending to the next floor. Along the way, the corpses of the wicked grew increasingly numerous, scattered throughout the path. No more corpses appeared, the light dwindled further. It seemed as though something was slowly eroding the light itself. When they reached the 16th underground floor, they discovered that the walls of the sick room had been shattered, revealing that fierce battles had once taken place here. At this moment, the radar walker, Shang Xiaoyu, finally sensed that something was amiss. She had always felt that a malevolent presence was closing in on them. This time, she truly felt fear creeping in. At the very least, her emotions had fluctuated, and her wristwatch pointed to 14. Wang appeared more intrigued by the surroundings. He believed that this place had undoubtedly conducted some mad experiments. At that moment, Bok Vu suddenly halted, holding Nu Ku's Medusa lamp to shine it sideways. For in his eyes, a disjointed note had appeared. Here, using the camera could reveal a more precise image. Lost in thought, Bok Vu suddenly recalled that before setting off, he had stopped by a shop in a tall tower, where he had arranged with the shopkeeper to send sacred items. Among them was a camera, filled with myriad stories. Lin Vu Niu noticed Bok Vu rummaging through things. Pulling out a camera, she couldn't help but mock him for bringing such trash. Bok Vu paid no mind, his gaze fixed intently on the camera. The subtitle information had changed. Although Qi Lin's direction differed from their expectations, it could still prove beneficial. Silently, he murmured a sequence of numbers, directing himself towards room number 12, wondering if any surprises awaited. July 2, 2027, at 14:15, Bok Vu pondered the meaning of the numbers and pressed the shutter button. The flash of the camera sent ripples of excitement through the group. All technological devices outside the tower were inoperative, unless they belonged to Qi Lin. As the owner of the camera, Bok Vu also received information from Qi Lin by simply reciting the time. The camera could capture images of the past. However, within 7 days, he could only use it twice. In the photograph was the image of a boy. With a frenzied expression, he gazed directly into the lens from the center of the room. Bok Vu examined the photo, questioning Nu Ku about the doubts swirling in his mind. Captain, could a high-level villain possess intelligence? Nu Ku believed that the madness of evildoers was inevitable, yet a select few retained the language and characteristics of the human era. And very few villains, if they could be called that, were better described as the evolved ones. Bok Vu nodded as if reminiscing, then raised the photo and declared that the boy depicted was surely the guardian of this building. According to the captain, he was likely a high-level villain. Previously, they had encountered none. It was highly probable that this little one had transformed into darkness. Everyone heard a sound from above. A colossal villain had appeared before them. Nu Ku placed his hand on the villain, calmly instructing everyone to prepare for battle. He himself immediately leapt forward, swinging his dagger. Yet, the strike failed to land. The villain no longer concealed his maniacal laughter, merely waving his hand lightly, creating a pit in the ground. Bok Vu, closest to the danger, had no time to escape. Yen Xin dove downward. Nu Ku promptly abandoned his attack, stepping towards Bok Vu. Bok Vu, already weakened, could not manage to flip back. Both of them fell deeply. This mental hospital had no doctors, yet all the patients could still be treated. Who said healing required a doctor? As Bok Vu and his group descended to the 16th floor of the second hospital, the darkness around the lake had invaded the light of the Medusa lamp to its lowest point. Immediately, a malevolent specter emerged. With a swift motion, Nu Ku aimed to save Bok Vu. Both of them fell. Fortunately, the floor below was not too deep. When Bok Vu regained consciousness, he found Nu Ku exploring the area. Ignoring Prule's taunts, he quickly stood up and inquired where they had arrived. New Ku informed Bakvu that they were currently on the lowest floor. A chaotic place devoid of any patient rooms. It was estimated that at least 10 different kinds of villains had battled here. The only noteworthy detail was the number 12 on the wall, as all previous conflicts had no connection to him. This was a stubborn individual who claimed to be disciple number 12. Thus he held a special affection for this number. Bakvu gazed at it in confusion. Pearl's eye noted that if there were disciples, there must certainly be a master. Yet, this had nothing to do with the insane asylum. Suddenly, something fell behind Bakvu and his companions. The two immediately moved toward the source of the disturbance, room 12 on the 17th floor. After devouring the female spider on the 16th floor, it was not only the strongest complete form but also had 23 obedient slaves at its command. All of them are my secret cards. 23 cards. Can you kill me in just 1 second? Bakvu felt somewhat disheartened. It seemed that the old man Lu had found an heir in another world. The outcome of the next battle would likely be tragic. However, the notes clearly did not pertain to the patient room door. Rather, they reflected the wicked thoughts of the one living within that room. The story in room 12 on the 7th floor might very well be about the mischievous boy in the photograph. With this thought, Bakvu closed his eyes and began to piece together the information. This second building, on their journey through, although they encountered no other malevolence besides the mischievous boy, on each floor, he could see certain valuable notes on the door of room 12. According to the first diary obtained, the events in the insane asylum occurred in 2026, which meant that at that time, humanity had yet to enter the tall tower. This asylum was the product of a gradual, sinister transformation. Room 12 on the negative first floor. This asylum was both a prison and an arena. The monsters here, some were created, while others were sent here by some masked figure in the city. Only the strongest monsters could advance to the next floor after battling. This section confirmed Bakvu's hypothesis. If a portion of the wicked beings was sent by humans, then this asylum surely lay within the tower. Years before the era arrived. Floor -3, room 12, I consumed glow. His deathly aura was very useful to me. I hope on the 4th floor, I can encounter an intriguing being. Floor -4, room 10, I will not die. I have evaded all the deaths I sensed. But the food on this floor is truly unpalatable. These beings are scarcely worthy of my devouring. Level -6, room 12, at last, I encounter a fascinating opponent. Out of respect, I shall not consume this one. It seems the mischievous brat referred to by Pearl Eye is none other than Ilya. This journey of his descends deeper. Level -9, room 12, I can sense that no one stands as my rival now. Yet I shall play the obedient fool. I will feign surrender to them until I have devoured every last monster. Level -13, room 12, I drift further from the light, yet draw closer to the truth my master spoke of. I am on the brink of becoming the perfected form. When I unleash my power, I shall become my master's mightiest weapon. Cleaving through this tower, Bakvu senses that this tower is not merely a tower. At this moment, perhaps the existence of the tower has yet to manifest. Level -14, room 12, how can I even count? He is merely a useless wretch. How can he compare to a genius like me? As I tread upon level -14, Bakvu perceives the transformation. These words signify the pitiful brat who was previously lost on level 11. In the past, he had been transferred to the second chamber, and this 12th disciple, through each trial, reached level 14, only to be met with defeat by the pitiful child transferred from the first chamber. Bakvu in the first chamber received a comb, which is the embodiment of resentment, the key to the malevolent. Just a trace of such resentment is formidable enough. As I traverse level -14, the walls there bear little damage, indicating that the pitiful brat easily vanquished Ilya. Ilya must be utterly unwilling and perhaps has been beaten into a state of self-doubt. That wretched child is undoubtedly the final boss of the 4th tower. Level -15, room 10, 1 hand, 2 hands, here bypassing 8.000 characters. The resentment of the pitiful child transforms into an attacking arm. This also proves that Ilya has indeed succumbed to despair. Level -16, room 10, it is not that I am weak. It is simply that I have yet to consume enough sustenance. There are so many intriguing materials on level 16. Against these foes, I can certainly best him, for my pain surpasses his. It appears Ilya is young yet bears the mindset of an adult. Coupled with the notes from before at the door of room 12 on level -17. This unfortunate 12th disciple, Ilya may very well face defeat once more. After all, the banner of the esteemed Lu is not something just anyone can raise. He was then left in the second tower. The pitiful brat who overcame him was transferred to deeper levels. Ilya, too, cannot prove himself before that nameless master. Reflecting on this, Bok Vu opened his eyes, informing Nuku that he comprehended the significance of the number 12 and presented his reasoning to Nuku. The hospital, the second building, is where high-grade malevolence is spawned. The number 12 distinctly refers to the 12th disciple, Ilya. At least 12 high-ranking evildoers have been created here. Nuku felt a twinge of impatience, aware that the 4 royals were still up there. To confront the high-ranking evil, they were still lacking in power. Bok Vu remained silent, for in his eyes flickered a note of a different significance. It was the master whom Ilya fervently revered. Under their hands, there were at least 12 highly transformed evildoers. Not just here. At that moment, before Bok Vu and Nuku, countless pairs of eyes suddenly opened. Had the 4 from the Wang family already fallen? If trapped in this insane asylum, how could one prove their sanity? The answer was that there was no need to prove anything. For, in essence, this was a battleground. To lose meant to be devoured. To win meant to be promoted to the watchful hound of the hospital. As Bok Vu pieced together the fragments of clues, he also realized the true meaning of this insane asylum. Clearly, they were not just facing the asylum itself, but as he and Nuku prepared to turn back to find their teammates. Countless pairs of eyes suddenly opened before them. Nuku immediately stepped in front of Bok Vu. Though Bok Vu's mind was currently sharp, his own power only resided at level 1. Tier 3. All he could do was use the Medusa lamp for support. Yet, what could that possibly do against the colossal monster before them? The outcome was still uncertain. In the next moment, the evil creature lunged forward. Normal magnetic wires, hardened magnetic wires, these were the peculiar abilities of the evildoer. Nuku did not hold back. With a single stroke of his sword, he severed the opponent's arm. Machine 256 in the celestial chain possessed the ability to move so swiftly it created an effect of duplication. Clearly, this opponent, though powerful, was not someone worthy of Noctu's seriousness. For a moment, Bok Vu felt a bit at ease. Having a long leg to hold was indeed quite delightful. Yet, Bok Vu's eyes reminded him to remain cautious. These beings were not like mere common thugs. In other words, this kind of demon was not a simple matter. The fragments of the demon that 59 had struck down were slowly melting away. At present, they were merely the summoned creatures of those afflicted with midlife crises. Reacting solely on emotion, they resembled automatons, capable only of reflexive responses. Lacking any substance, they should not even exist. Merely monsters conjured by that man. A total of 3 summoned creatures were present here, and Bok Vu had been advised to steer clear immediately. He glanced towards the pillar. His heart felt somewhat hazy, yet his movements did not falter. In an instant, he dodged the unexpected attack, simultaneously spinning to place the Medusa lamp before him. But the demon's punch only paused briefly. While the Medusa lamp proved ineffective, Bok Vu could only stand there in helplessness. If the object proves useless, then all he can do is run. But in that moment, the demon suddenly halted, its breath retracting swiftly from its tail. In the blink of an eye, it leapt back like a startled spider. The light from the sword of 59 sliced through the air. A rare feeling of danger emanated from the rare magnetic ice. It seemed to be the 3rd layer of protection. The ability of the 12th layer of protection was rare magnetic ice. It seemed to be an ability that could conceal itself in the dark. Passing through the body, Noctu also felt discontentment at his inability to strike fiercely. Clearly, this sinister ability frustrated him. However, Bai Wu urged Noctu to focus on handling the other demons, asserting that he had a way to deal with this one. Otherwise, the giant beside him would be overwhelmed. Yet, the demon would not afford Bai Wu and Noctu a moment to discuss. The eyes atop it began to gather energy. The rare magnetic ice had the ability to manipulate space. As its name suggested, capable of piercing through space. A wide-scale attack emerged from above, warning them to evade quickly. Bai Wu's eyes lit up with an alert. Just then, 59 sensed the danger and pulled him away. The demon's colossal punch fell at that very moment. Yet, there was no trace of panic on Bai Wu's face. The absence of negative emotions allowed him to maintain calm thought in every situation. On the other side, seeing the attack fail, the demon immediately opened more spatial gates. Noctu, unwilling to let Bai Wu suffer an attack, seized his sword and charged at the demon. But this demon was clearly not a foe to be trifled with. Its attack was not only bizarre but also denser. Yet, before the terrifying speed of Noctu, it remained powerless. As Noctu closed in on the demon showed no intention of evading whatsoever. Faced with this situation, Nok 2 felt a flicker of doubt. But with the sword drawn, he could not refrain from striking. The demon in his grasp had to perish. In an instant, the sword cleaved it in two. Yet, the demon merely blinked a few times, and its wounds swiftly healed as if nothing had happened. Even in the form of rare magnetic ice, the weakness lay in the center, its eyes. Bai Wu's eyes flashed a warning, but he did not alert Nok 2 immediately. For the demon was approaching him, signaling that an attack was imminent from behind. A warning to lean and evade. Bai Wu saw the alert and immediately dodged. In his mind, he continuously analyzed the habits of this demon. The opponent would ignore Nok 2 and directly assault him. It seemed that something about him stirred its instincts. Was it the Medusa lamp hidden in the shadows? It appeared the opponent feared the light as well. Bai Wu grasped the reason and promptly sent a warning to Nok 2. Instantly, he informed Nok 2 that the weakness of this demon lay in its flamboyance. He hurled the Medusa lantern in his hand towards Nok 2. Nok 2 gazed at the approaching lantern with confusion. Did he really need a lantern to confront such a towering demon? What if the treasure in your hands is targeted by an enemy? Surely, there would be no way to survive. Bok Vu noticed the demon advancing towards Nok 2 and immediately tossed the lantern to him. Who was still engaged in battle. Though he did not comprehend his intentions, he trusted him and swung his sword to strike the lantern. In an instant, a brilliant light illuminated the entire 18th floor of the abyss. This was the final light before the object was obliterated. At that moment, a large shadow also loomed behind Nok 2. The demon abandoned Bok Vu and charged toward him. Bok Vu shielded his eyes from the blinding light, thinking to himself that it was indeed correct. The very thing the demon feared most was light. Earlier, he had illuminated Nok 2's path, causing the demon to overlook a formidable foe to harass him instead. Now, surrounded, Nok 2 grasped the meaning of his actions. But this was not the time for reprimands. Nok 2 activated his innate abilities once more. Before absolute power, who surrounded whom was still uncertain. In an instant, he appeared behind the demon. Earlier, it had been said that it was difficult to identify it simply because of its elusive location. Then 59 looked towards the space. The demon, the very eyes Bok Vu had just mentioned, was indeed this one, wasn't it? With this thought, 59 vanished immediately, and upon reappearing, his sword plunged into its eyes. This scene caused Bok Vu's pleural eyes to also sigh. A mere insignificant creature with such power dared to scheme, truly ruthless. At this moment, 59 withdrew his sword and remarked to Bok Vu that without him earlier, others surely would not have been able to react in time. Bok Vu smiled slightly. I know it was because of you that I acted thus. 59 fell silent, but that did not mean he would provoke Bok Vu. The conversation shifted to the demons they had just vanquished. He also noticed the unusual nature of these demons. Normally, demons do not vanish immediately upon death. Bok Vu had previously learned the answer to this in the notes of the pleural eyes. However, he could not speak it directly to 59, for it would cause unnecessary troubles. Therefore, he merely pointed to the spiderweb on the ground, a remnant left after the demon's dissolution. Nok 2, the captain of the investigating team outside the tower, immediately grasped the significance of Bok Vu's words. It seemed that these demons were not true demons at all, but rather manifestations of the spider-like demon's abilities from the previous floor. Am I right? Bok Vu said nothing. At present, a more pressing issue was how to return to the upper floor and reunite with Vong Ti, Lam Nok, and a few others. If the summoning object possessed such power, then the entity itself could not be Lam Nok and the others' match. 10 minutes ago, after the dreaded spider demon Aliyah had sent Bok Vu and Nok 2 crashing to the lower floor, the likes of Thuong Tiu Nok and Nyan Song immediately sprang into combat. Vong Ti, as the vanguard of the group, stepped forward, shielding everyone with her presence. Thuong Tiu Nok found it hard to contain her emotions upon seeing the demon. She promptly lunged forward, her hair streaming behind her. Although the girl Nyan Song appeared frail, she too stood her ground without hesitation. Perhaps in the absence of their captain Nok 2, the true strength of everyone would finally be revealed. But in the heat of battle, Thuong Tiu Nok was the swiftest. Confronting Aliyah, her sword struck down, yet Aliyah's arm unfurled to reveal a hardened shield. No matter how fiercely Thuong Tiu Nok swung her blade, it merely sparked tiny flares. But Aliyah was no foolish demon. Beneath his wicked veneer, he seemed to bide his time, waiting for everyone to charge. In the next heartbeat, his colossal form surged forward. His belly spewed forth threads like an intricate web of doom. Nyan Song, caught unawares, was ensnared. Countless strands, as if possessing a will of their own, swiftly ensnared him. Fortunately, Lam Nok, with his vast combat experience, had been observing and sprang into action to save Nyansong. This made Thuong Tiu Nok, who had just escaped the clutches of adversity, feel a surge of self-satisfaction. After all, she was the one standing at the forefront. Yet, Aaliyah would not grant anyone the chance to mock. In the blink of an eye, he had appeared behind Lam Nok. Only he, a being of such fierce vitality, could withstand several blows. Yet, the team did not operate in isolation. Just like Vong Ti, her fist clenched tightly, she unleashed a strike that shattered Aaliyah's armbone. But this action seemed to only incite Aaliyah's wrath. As he expressed his disdain for them, he effortlessly recharged his strength, his arm restoring to its original state. Then, with a sudden extension, his arm swung out, sending Vong Ti flying several dozen meters away. Witnessing this, Lam Nok brandished his whip and called for Vong Ti to coordinate. Vong Ti grasped the intent and seized Aaliyah's elongated arm. Lam Nok took the opportunity to pull it back. Twisting fiercely, Thuong Tiu Nok and Nyan Song rushed in, each wielding their weapons to slice the arm into segments. This flawless synergy filled Lam Nok with a sense of achievement. He urged everyone to keep pushing forward. But before he could finish his thought, his eyes widened in shock. He watched as Aaliyah's arm rapidly retracted. In less than a second, it had rejuvenated. The essence of his being showed no signs of waning. Aaliyah, it seemed, was growing weary of this monotonous skirmish. His back swiftly unfurled, revealing glistening red flesh that was as mysterious as it was unnerving. While he proclaimed that they fought well, yet, he craved fresh blood, Lam Nok came to a grim realization. This level of demon was not an adversary they could contend with. No matter how well the team's coordination was, it was merely an illusion. Those masses of flesh quickly revealed their true faces. Each mass of flesh birthed a high-ranking demon. In an instant, the hospital corridor became congested. At this moment, everyone's heart echoed with a singular thought. Where had the captain and Bok Vu gone? In the summer replica, a healer or wizard could be missing. But a grand disciple was absolutely irreplaceable. After Bok Vu had slain the high-ranking demon on the 18th floor, he pondered how to return to the upper levels and reunite with Vong Ti and the others. Suddenly, Bok Vu's pleural eyes emitted a warning. A level 6 demon was swiftly approaching from above. Instinctively, Bok Vu looked up. The first thing he saw was Thuong Tiu Nok, her face alight with excitement. There was a touch of bashfulness, reminiscent of their first encounter. Above, Vong Ti, Nyan Song, and Lam Nok were plummeting freely, simultaneously battling the demons. They quickly noticed Bok Vu and Nu Ku below, immediately warning the two that 4 demons were advancing toward them. Looking down, Bok Vu remained calm, while Nu Ku had vanished. Now, he had to leap over the demons and soar into the air. Instantly, he shouted Lam Nok Nu and Vong Ti's names. Lam Nok Nu understood the cue and swung the whip in her hand toward Nu Ku. Nu Ku grasped the whip, utilizing the pull to rise high. Meanwhile, Lam Nok Nu threw it towards Vong Ti, who immediately extended his hand to catch it beneath Nu Ku's feet. Then, Vong Ti forcefully propelled Nu Ku toward the pursuing demons. Above, the demons summoned by Elijah loomed closer. They were not a match for Nu Ku, yet he dared not relax. To avoid future troubles, he resolved to unleash all of his strength. In an instant, Nu Ku seemed to split into four beams of light soaring toward the demons. Meanwhile, Vong Ti, Lam Nok Nu, and the others safely descended to the ground. Clearly, they had no doubts about Nu Ku's power. In fact, Thuong Tiu Nok became a cheerleader, as if they hadn't fled moments before. It turned out that after Vong Ti and the others had fought Elijah for a while, Elijah deemed them too weak and unleashed several demons, preparing to deal with them swiftly. The Vong Ti group was acutely aware of their insufficient power, so they followed the trail of Bok Vu and Nu Ku to find a way down. At this moment, Nu Ku's battle was nearing its conclusion. Under Nu Ku's might, the demons stood no chance of resistance. After the battle ended, Nu Ku landed on a step of Fuji, and a gentle smile graced Bok Vu's face. Undoubtedly, the coordination of this team was truly flawless. Beside Nu Ku, strands of spider silk slowly descended. Suddenly, Elijah appeared abruptly behind Nu Ku. He too recognized that Nu Ku was the strongest among the group. Nu Ku immediately swung his knife, but the strike did not land on Elijah. Elijah had completely succumbed to madness. He joyfully shifted to attack Nu Ku. Seeing this, the Vong Ti immediately warned Nu Ku, informing him that Elijah possessed the power of a level 5 demon. Clearly, the Vong Ti group had not given Elijah the chance to strike, leading to a misunderstanding of his true strength. In the original notes, Bok Vu had already known that Elijah was actually a level 6 demon. Furthermore, Elijah's variant was far from ordinary. He had once ventured deep into layer -18, only losing to a weakling at layer -14, while consuming all other demons in his path. Each time he devoured a demon, he gained the ability of the opponent's variant. For instance, the death premonition of Grur at layer -3, or the gigantic body of the spider he now possessed, taken from the female spider at layer -16, along with the new notes from Prowler's eyes. Even his variant had the ability to slice iron and corrode with acid. The tightly woven spider silk, the permeating toxins, the swift reactions that extended his agile body, the powerful muscular variant, the perfect body regeneration, and the life and death sensing. This meant that Elijah could even be stronger than other level 6 demons. However, Bok Vu also knew that this would not pose a significant challenge for Nuku. As soon as they entered the hospital, the master had announced that Nuku had the capability to overcome any challenge. At this moment, Prowler's eyes presented an opportunity to retaliate. At the same time, this reminded Bok Vu that if he did not use methods other than Nuku to deal with Elijah, he would suffer a loss of a talent he did not desire. This made Bok Vu hesitate, pondering the relationship between gains and losses. Just then, Nuku and Elijah had temporarily reached a stalemate. Although Elijah was still in a frenzy, his severed limbs indicated his deteriorating condition. Nuku hadn't even caught his breath, calmly instructing his teammates to keep their distance. But just as Nuku was about to advance, Bok Vu suddenly called Nuku back. Quickly, with the puzzled gazes of everyone upon him, he maintained a smile as he stepped forward towards Nuku. "Captain, allow me to handle him. What does it mean to be the supreme of two?" 3 sentences that made the great sword kneel and call you father. As Nuku and Elijah clashed for 2.5 seconds. After a brief separation, Bok Vu suddenly moved to block Nuku, declaring his intent to face the level 6 demon Elijah alone. His teammates were bewildered. A level 1 challenge against a level 6 demon. Did he come here without a brain? Nuku also felt that Bok Vu seemed to be out of his mind. The long blade tilted down to block Bok Vu, but he gently pressed the blade's tip, reassuring Nuku. He even turned to tell his teammates to remain silent. Observing Nuku's usual expression, the Vong T group, though unsure of Bok Vu's intentions, still looked on in astonishment. Yet, he unconsciously recalled the image of Nuku. In an instant, Nuku felt as if he were being pounced upon by a wolf. For the first time, he realized that the gaze of his comrades could be as sharp as a blade. Fortunately, the captain maintained his dignified presence. The others dared not stare. Bok Vu wasted no more time. He left behind a warning that before the wicked make a move, one should not act hastily, and then stepped forward. Elijah, who had previously been incapacitated by the drunken strikes, had now fully recovered. He was slightly puzzled as to why the opponent had changed, but this mattered little. To him, anyone who approached was merely prey. The dark violet eyes of Elia surged with excitement. Suddenly, his front legs lifted, aimed directly at Bok Vu. Yet, he did not launch a direct attack. Prey that is crushed loses its flavor. Instead, he prepared to use his front legs to block Bok Vu's retreat. Then transform with his magnetic form. His body elongated to ensnare him, gradually applying pressure. However, Bok Vu's smile grew ever gentler, like a grandfather gazing at a wayward grandchild. Then, he coldly stated, "Elia, my beloved son, I am not the prey you speak of." The hand that was poised to rend Bok Vu's arm abruptly halted. Elia's eyes widened in sudden realization. "You are my most precious creation, one of the most obedient of all my children." Elia's violet eyes filled with confusion and clarity. He neither advanced nor retreated, but instinctively retracted his arm. "Do not jest. Do not take this lightly. You are merely a failed experiment. I had no expectations of you. I had nearly forgotten your existence." Elia gazed at Bok Vu in horror, searching for the emotions that prey should possess in the eyes of his counterpart. Yet, Bok Vu remained calm and cold. "It seems that time has not improved you. This could be counted as one of your few merits." Elia, like a top-tier villain, could sense the faint fear emanating from those standing behind Bok Vu, despite their efforts to conceal it. Yet, facing Bok Vu, he felt no trace of fear. In his opponent's gaze, there was only amusement and disappointment. Elia's emotions began to crumble. Was he truly a teacher? If not, how could he possibly be here? If the teacher were alive, why had he not come to see me? And Elia was not the most bewildered. Nuku and Lin Vu Niu were the truly perplexed ones. The two statements had shattered the spirit of the top villain. What kind of game was this? Inside, Nu Ku felt a flicker of confusion. He guessed that this was the information Bok Vu had gathered while moving through the 11th floor. But what is this feeling of an unseen black hand orchestrating everything behind Bok Vu? He found himself increasingly perplexed by Bok Vu. At that moment, Bok Vu stood before Elijah. How pitiful for you, thinking I had perished and did not come to visit you. Perhaps I should examine you, to remind myself that I am even more of a failure than those at the hospital. They have created a fairly complete unfinished product, while you are a failure worse than a mere prototype. Elijah, I am truly in agony. I cannot accept that in my perfect career there exists a blemish like you. These words resonated deeply with the turmoil within Elijah. His massive form could not conceal the tremors coursing through him. In reflexive defense, he declared himself the finest creation of Bok Vu, entirely forgetting the ease with which the figure before him could crush him. Bok Vu had also wiped the smile from his face. The assault on Elijah's inner pain was nearing its conclusion. Come now, Elijah, your appearance is utterly grotesque. Do you know why I have left you here? Because here, you can be honed, yet you have disappointed me. You have been far too frightened of the girl on the 4th floor. In the end, I must take matters into my own hands. Even a useless being like you can do nothing but bring me further trouble. Bok Vu's words drove Elijah deeper into torment. Lam Nok knew and the others had completely given up trying to understand. Was Bok Vu truly like them, exploring this area for the first time? Were they all holding onto the same script? But it was not yet time for Bok Vu to unveil the secrets. He continued to assail Elijah. Over the years, your failures have forced me to endure considerable pressure. Yet, the tower remains steadfast. I have created many children like you. They have fulfilled my requirements splendidly. Number 12, Staya, you will forever be my stain. At this moment, Elijah could no longer hold back his tears. He pleaded with Bok Vu for another chance, of course. In Elijah's eyes, Bok Vu was his teacher in memory. One thing Bok Vu had to admit was that he was still quite fortunate. The personality, tone, and demeanor of the figure he emulated were all derived from his father. As for the arrogance, insecurity, and lack of love, these were the insights Bok Vu had gleaned from notes about Elijah. Earlier, in notes from the 9th and 13th floors, two forces were mentioned, the institution and the teacher. Within this, Elijah feigned submission to the institution, yet fervently idolized the teacher, even desiring to become his weapon. This teacher had arranged for Elijah to come here, clearly hoping he would become a powerful demon. Unfortunately, the institution had birthed a creature even more fearsome. That was the girl from the 11th floor. She had repeatedly defeated Elijah by crushing him. Now, Elijah knelt before her, humbled by the very being he regarded as divine, merely believing that he had encountered the teacher. This game is almost won. Bok Vu understands that soon he will have to face this teacher, a truly malevolent being. But for now, he must first conclude the matters at hand. He retrieves the comb he found during his travels. It was Teacher K who truly killed him. Elijah harbored no doubts upon seeing the comb. He stretched his body, crawling towards Bok Vu. Once terrified of her, he now found himself infatuated with the teacher. After all, he had always regarded the teacher as a deity. Bok Vu smiled gently once more. For your grand scheme has failed. But I have not forgotten you. Look, did I not come seeking you? I believe you will not disappoint me a second time. To achieve completion, I need you. You are an indispensable part. I wish to grant you another form of immortality, bringing you closer to perfection. I also hope you can become a part of me, forever by my side. Bok Vu's warm smile combined with her deep, cold gaze made Elijah feel both terrified and eager to express his loyalty. I will not disappoint you again. I will surely fulfill your mission. Teacher, what must I do? Bok Vu leaned in close, softly explaining, if you consume your good friend, you will inherit his length, height, or strength. How will you choose? After Bok Vu explained to Elijah as if he were under a trance, the fervor in Elijah's mind gradually dissipated. Then, his body shrank back to its original form. The two arms behind him suddenly grew enormous. In an instant, he turned abruptly, letting out a laugh filled with resentment or liberation. Elijah was dead. Under the bewildered gaze of 591, Bok Vu walked slowly, notes appearing in his eyes as well. He received the innate skill number 76, Earth Ancestor, allowing him to absorb the characteristics of his opponent by devouring them. The key to the 3rd hospital building lay in the hands of the wicked. How unfortunate. Bok Vu held no interest in the flesh of the wicked. Whether starving or jumping from the 19th floor, he would absolutely not consume a morsel of the evil. As Bok Vu approached everyone, Lin Vu Nu gasped in astonishment. Her mouth agape, she curiously asked Bok Vu the reason. She was eager to know how a single phrase could obliterate a level 6 villain. She could not comprehend when Bok Vu had acquired such insider information. Bok Vu knew he could not explain, for part of his information came from Pruel. He could only earn the trust of his teammates, as Wang felt there was nothing to worry about concerning this sorcerer. He cheerfully remarked that this was the first time he had seen a villain commit suicide. Huang Tiu Wei, however, was curious about the intellect of the villain but reminded everyone not to regard the wicked as ordinary people. This is the lesson learned from countless surveys of the tower over 700 years. Bai Wu noticed that no one was questioning him, so he turned to Wang and said that if Elia were in his belly, he hoped this strong man could make a worthwhile trip. Wang pulled Lin Vu Nhu back, believing that this friend was more suitable for dissection. Lin Vu Nhu snorted and approached the corpse of the evil one. The band wrapped around his waist had been undone, revealing a gleaming set of knives, shimmering with an ominous allure. Dissection is an art, don't think that just a chainsaw will suffice. Unless you enjoy blood splattering, this knife set can help you dissect with precision, as delicate as a French cuisine. Bai Wu glanced at the notes, his mind a tangled web of thoughts. Indeed, within the entire team, only he and Ying Shang were ordinary. Yet the next note pulled him back to reality. Exactly, why must the door require a key to enter? During the tower's era, the rules of the world outside the tower underwent transformation. Wu Ju once said that the scenery could not be destroyed. It seems the rules of the outside world are stronger than humans. Or the evil within this hospital. 700 years have passed, and the evildoers inside remain undestroyed. Therefore, a part of the door cannot be breached forcibly. A key must be found. At this moment, Lin Vu Nu's voice interrupted Bai Wu's thoughts. The parts of Elia had been neatly arranged by him. Lin Vu Nhu, holding a key, looked as joyful as an 18-year-old girl. Moments later, everyone arrived at the corridor between the second and third hospitals. Bai Wu lagged behind, lost in his thoughts. He did not reveal that he had obtained Chain 76. For after all, the captain of Team 13, Lu Mu, once said that the owner of Chain 75 had been taken to the 6th floor of the tower and then vanished. He also possessed the pre-real eye from Chain 24, and if exposed, he would likely face danger. Many questions regarding Bai Wu remained unanswered, such as why these vile beings did not leave this building. At this moment, 59 noticed Bai Wu's peculiar state. Bai Wu straightforwardly raised the issue. Wu Ju merely stated that no one knew the answer to this question, and it could only be temporarily understood as a special type of constraint. The white smoke lingered in contemplation, hence the scenery could not be destroyed, and the beings within it could not easily transform. This indeed resembled some rules in a game. However, without discovering the principle supporting this constraint, it could not be deemed an unbreakable rule. At this moment, leading the way was Shang Xiaoyi, who, after sensing a bit, declared that the third building bore no presence of evil. With experience from previous encounters, Wu Ju did not rush to act but turned to seek Bai Wu's opinion. Bai Wu gazed towards the entrance of the third building. His earlier deductions had been confirmed, revealing that there were 4 buildings within the hospital. Only this building is where humans once lived. Yet, all have perished. They left behind countless tedious records. But Xiao Ku has begun to notice you. He has left behind a few small puzzles in the third building. And you have obtained one. The chain can choose the right moment to depart. At least this way, it wouldn't lead to losing lives. Note: the white smoke is merely a mockery, in his view. As long as there is Wu Ju by his side, there was surely a way to escape. Moreover, the poor girl was likely unable to leave the 4th building. Thus, he decided to let Lam Go Nhu open the door. At the end of the corridor, a sign clearly read, "No entry." The entire environment had become more orderly. However, Bai Wu's pre-real eyes kept flashing notes, seemingly truly causing Bai Wu to feel a headache as he infiltrated the third building. Crossing the long corridor and the dining area, Bai Wu and the group arrived at the elevator door. The first choice left for them by Xiao Ku had arrived. This building is filled with his resentment. Do not think these are mere trivial games from the first building. Hold tight to your friends. If you get lost on this floor, you will never return. Pre-real's gaze no longer warned, but with a hint of boredom, indicated to Bai Wu that they should head to the 3rd floor first. Bai Wu did not hesitate, stepping into the elevator and pressing the button for the 3rd floor directly. From the information revealed in the notes, he could somewhat infer Xiao Ku's tactics. Called a return, one must use the wheel to turn back. If this step is not taken, naturally, one cannot return. Wu Ju encouraged Bai Wu while questioning his reasoning. The mystery among the teammates only deepened their suspicions. He needed Bai Wu to provide an explanation. Bai Wu had already anticipated that his notes would confuse others. So he replied straightforwardly, since the captain has sincerely asked. I will reluctantly tell you. The 11th floor of the first building is where the voices of the wicked can be heard. It leads to emotional fluctuations that attract resentment. Meanwhile, I am searching for the source. Perhaps because my emotional fluctuations are very low. I hear sounds different from everyone else. In the end, I stepped into the corner room and obtained some information unknown to others. Speaking of which, the team members interrupted him. You can't always have an emotional fluctuation level of 0. Can you? 59, very calm, busily pulled the story back, asking Bai Wu what he had discovered. Bai Wu smiled and held up 3 fingers, presenting a choice question. Key. File. Comb. I choose the file and the comb. Indeed, to dispel the concerns of his teammates and conceal his abilities, Bai Wu candidly stated that he could select 2 items, besides the comb. He also included the file, justifying it as important information for later. All of this is information mentioned in the dossier.